Hello everybody, and once again it is Briefcase bringing you the ESPL Weekly Series number 4. Along with me for the ride is my handsome co-caster, Mito.
What ride?
The ride of...
I'm stuck on an island.
that is true, actually, but I'm actually on an island too. None too different from yours as far as I know, as far as size is concerned at the very least. But we are obviously getting into the second game of the semifinals between Bag of Chips and Pepperoni and the Panthers. So, I mean, it should be going on pretty nicely. And of course, for anybody just tuning in, possibly people from Dota 2 Lounge, ESPL, it's a weekly series, $100 onto the line every single time. And after about 3 months or so, it's going to be a main event with Speed and Sigma Gaming coming to join the top 6 teams over the 8, I believe, weekly series that we'll be taking and getting league points for all of those teams. And with that, at least $8,000 in the prize pool, so none too shabby by any means. And right off the bat, it looks like we have OD and Visage being banned out, getting rid of those blue flyers, it looks like, with you have Timbersaw and Invoker being banned out by Bag of Chips and Pepperoni.
Ooh. I'm just thinking, Panther, right? So, what's the difference between, what, Panther and Puma? Or like, actually no, let's not talk about cats. Let's focus on the game. So, right away, OD and Visage being banned out, and they immediately pick up the Mirana. It seems like Mirana is one of those go-to heroes, and immediately Bag of Chips respawn with a BB and Crystal Maiden. Ooh, we haven't seen a BB for quite a while as well. Recently, the last time I've seen it, it was being combo with a Shadow Priest, and wow, Shadow Priest plus BB. You just have this ultimate tank who can just stand in the front, tank up the entire team, and then like reflect up so much damage with those spikes shooting out.
Oh yeah, and just lives through anything.
Yeah, and Crystal Maiden provides all the mana he needs. Good first to pick up, but Panthers, they always seem to have a strategy in mind, a plan in mind, and they're coming in strong. And now we're gonna have the Naga Siren. Oh. Every time I see Naga Siren, I just have like chills running down my spine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, such a versatile hero. Obviously, can be run as support. Kind of had her heyday as support when she got slightly nerfed, and now people are realizing that, you know what, she is still a very strong carry in and of herself, and she kind of has a similar feel to her as Faceless Void, in just that her ult is such a strong ability and just plays so well for pretty much any lineup that you put her in. It can be an escape, it can be an initiation, it can be almost anything you want. And in that way, it's just like, it's a carry with a really strong ult, and all of her other abilities are pretty useful as well. I mean, she just is just terrific overall. And when you do pick her up, it still gives nothing away in the lineups that she is running. So, I mean, right now, you don't know if that's going to be a carry Naga for sure. You're not really certain if that's going to be a support Naga as well. So, I mean, just a nice pickup overall.
Oh, and it seems like Panthers have done their studies. They've banned out the Dragon Knight as well as the Lycanthrope. But surprisingly, we haven't seen Nyx Assassin being banned or picked up in the first and second ban phase, as well as the first pick phase. And this hero, with its like amount of possibilities, surprise actually. But Bag of Chips, this game, they're looking for one of those heavy pushing lineups. Clockwork, as an offlaner, can help them set up their initiations, and then you can go for a Death Prophet as well as Pugna for the mid-game pushing lineup. On the other hand, Panther, still nothing given away. Working in secrecy.
Oh yeah, just constantly in the shadows, it seems. Just like Panthers do, as far as I know. It's kind of their MO. Veno, though, I mean, he's obviously going to help with the counter push and just stopping those pushes dead in their tracks. And obviously he can help with some other pushes as well, but I mean, I feel like just setting up a giant wall of wards is one of the best ways to stop pretty much any push in their tracks. And now a Lifestealer being picked up, and I mean, if this is if Naga Siren actually is run as a core hero, that is kind of ballsy to pick all your 3 cores right away. Obviously, Lifestealer does pretty well against Veno and Crystal Maiden. Bristleback, though, I feel, can give him a run for his money when it comes to just dealing with him, throwing down those quills, and Viscous Nasal Goo. If you slow him down enough, he really can have a hard time. TA, though, now going to throw out some nice negative armor, going to work with that goo very well as well, and TA is also one of those heroes that deals with Lifestealer quite nicely.
Oh man, bag of chips and pepperoni. They're like, you had the TA last game. This time it's our turn to show you how to play this hero. And so far, Panthers, none of the heroes can deal with a hero like Templar Assassin. But they can still always go for the Shadow Demon. They can still just net him and keep him on the spot. They can go for mass disablers like Lion, Rasta, which offers. Oh, Rasta is actually pretty good. It offers a lot of pushing of their own, and oh, they're going for the Lich, Frost Armor. This is interesting, but I'm liking Bag of Chips and Pepperoni's lineup a lot more. I feel it's got so much potential, but I just want to put it out there. Panthers, there are so many things that can combo with the Lich. The first thing that always pops to mind is going to be a Puck. Puck with Lifestealer, with Lich, and then you have Naga Siren setting everything else up. But then Puck does run into a bit of trouble against TA, but they have the hero choices allows them to switch up the lanes. You can run Lich and I don't know, Naga Siren, or Lich and Lifesteal dual mid. You can have Puck in the safe lane, Mirana in the off lane. So yeah, it's looking good. Oh, actually what they can do is Naga Siren, Mirana dual off lane, and have Lich and Lifesteal dual mid, and Puck in the safe.
Oh, boom. Look at that. Yeah. That is some pretty tricky laning right there. But obviously, it definitely seems like Naga Siren is going to be going with that Mirana. The Ensnare into Arrow is just obviously too strong to ever let up, especially in the laning phase. So when it comes right down to it, yeah, it comes down to like, how is Lifestealer, Lich, and their last hero going to lane, at least in my opinion. That's probably how it's going to go.
It can still be a disruptor.
Oh, that is true. I mean, Disruptor, probably my favorite support in the whole game, I want to say. Beyond maybe Phoenix, who some people don't consider as a support, but I mean, I think...
I feel Phoenix deals better in the offlane, to be quite frank. Yeah, I mean, the Icarus's dive will just keep him alive. And then you've got the Sunray that you can just hop over trees, and then you've got the attack slow. It just feels like it's designed specifically for the offlane. I tried it mid with like close to no success, just using the Sunray to burn the opponent, and then my HP just drops, and then Lion just fingers me. That sounds wrong, but I just get popped. That sounds wrong as well.
Yeah, just a little bit. And now, wow, looks like Bag of Chips and Pepperoni. They know that they're dire. They really do want to make it so that Roche is as easy as humanly possible. And not only that, they just want to make sure that this Lifestealer, he's not going to be this unbelievable, tanky, scary hero that you usually see him with, because he's going to be sitting at, you know, -10, -15 armor really quickly in any fight. It just doesn't look like the Panthers now will have anybody who can really tank for them at the moment. Yeah, Naga Siren and Lifestealer, they have a nice amount of armor for them, but they don't have as much as HP as you would normally think on some of those tankier heroes, and a lot of that comes from their armor.
Just the amount of minus armor and initiation burst coming out of Bag of Chips. I don't know, I just feel like every time I see a Templar, I always feel like this team, wow, they've got the potential to do just so much. And I'm very happy to see like a Slaughter being picked up, but not as the solo core hero. I mean, you've seen it so often. Slaughter being the only core hero in the lineup just ends up flopping towards endgame. But when you run him, well, he's going to start as a first position. You're going to farm him up. You're probably going to leave the BB in the safe lane or off lane, depending on whether Bags of Chips wants to play aggressive. But eventually, he's going to transition into more of a third position, whereas BB and TA are going to take over as the main DPS dealer into the late game. Slaughter, he's just more of that, like the team AoE minus armor initiation kind of hero that goes in, gets a couple of ultis off, amplified damage, and then dies. And yeah, that's kind of how the hero works.
Yeah, and I mean, but obviously if he does do that and pulls it off, Bristleback's just going to come in and maintain through the whole fight and wreck face. A Shadow Fiend has been picked up now, obviously, by the Panthers. Some good mid action there, and should be able to do pretty nicely against the TA, but I mean, very susceptible to ganks, and the amount of negative armor that's going to be coming out of Bag of Chips is going to be really scary for him. He's actually pretty squishy until he gets that BKB, but I digress. Let's get into who is actually playing who. Over on Bag of Chips, we're going to have Tabo playing this Venomancer, Factor Fiction going to be the Bristleback, Shredder going to be this Slardar, and Jaw as the Crystal Maiden, the stand-in, and Newsham going to be this Templar Assassin. Mito, would you like to take these Panthers, my friend?
Yeah, and Panthers, they're on the Radiant team, and we have Chris just leading out as a lifestealer, standing in the very front of the formation. And followed up, we have Senior Hydra, and playing as the Mirana, and then we have Kipo playing as a support. Oh, dude, I don't even know who's playing support and who's playing what. You have the Stealth Shield Nagasaran. And TJ will be playing as the Shadow Fiend. And finally, we have Shiny gonna be playing on the support Lich. Come on, Lich has to be a support. There's no other way around it.
No, come on, carry
Life
Lich,
of the
baby.
support.
Carry Lich. Rush that Veil, rush the Ags.
Life of the support. So we are gonna see duel lanes, hopefully, or maybe not.
I mean,
And it seems like it's definitely gonna be aggressive trial lane. Oh,
oh
they're
yeah,
gonna
could be.
let the Slaughter solo. Oh, this is
Solo lane
interesting.
Slaughter? I mean, I don't see that working out too well for them, but I suppose we'll see how it's going. I'm just going to follow Morana for a second as far as the camera's concerned. You let me know if anything happening. I'm just going to very, very quickly change some audio settings that I had to deal with originally when you were... when all of our audio went to shit in the first game. But now everything's fine and I'm back and nobody is the wiser. Not the end of the world by any means.
So it does seem like it's gonna be dual lanes. SF by himself in nature just cannot handle the TA. If TA plays correctly, everything is just gonna be in favor of TA. Unless of course you get very, very lucky with the runes constantly, and you bait out the refractions with fake raises, and then you right click him until refraction is gone, and then you go for those big powerful raises. Or you can double wave where you just constantly pull the creep aggro towards you until like the enemy creep wave dies, and then you have your next creep wave, and then you can just play extremely aggressively with 2 creep wave pushing in the TA's face. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean this dual lane up top, you have Chris as well as Shiny against Shredder. Now that Lich has finally made his way here, it's going to get at least a little bit more difficult for Shredder. Of course, he is a fairly tanky hero. Like Slarder's already got, 5 armor to his name just at level 1, so he's not doing too badly there. And I mean, Crystal Maiden, I suppose, can always rotate up top to make that a little bit more even, and probably even, I would say, give it in favor of the Slardar.
Yep. So now I'm loving what Bag of Chips is doing. They're just leaving Crystal Maiden in the jungle and farming her up. But now that they've realized Shredder is having heaps of trouble, so they've rotated the Crystal Maiden over to start pulling. And by pulling back the creep wave and pulling to jungle, it gives Shredder a little bit more room to breathe. Oh, and this SF does get lucky. He gets a regen rune. And that's always something good to have up against a Templar. Yeah, but Templar still leading by quite a bit, getting 5 denies and 7 last hits, while SF only has 6 last hit and 1 deny. This is only going to get worse and worse as their levels get higher.
Oh yeah, now it looks like they do know where Jaw is, what exactly she's doing, so they're actually going to be taking these creeps pretty nicely for themselves, and I mean, that's a nice get for the Panthers there, realizing that, yeah, everything's getting pulled by Crystal Maiden, by Jaw there, and they actually get probably way more out of that pull than Bag of Chips did.
Yeah, I don't think it was a pull that was... it wasn't worth it. But it does buy Shredder a little bit more room to get a couple of last hits in the lane. This is such a cool Slaughter set. Oh, he's so bright and shiny. Oh, and this SF is rune controlling like a boss, and he should be stacking the medium camp right now. Oh, beautiful. Is he gonna get the timing?
Not quite.
He misses it, but it was a good try. And
TJ,
that's the way you have to play SF when you're losing the lane.
TJ probably feeling very, very strong right now, obviously with that double damage rune. Tabo waiting in the wings, but he was obviously seen and pretty much almost still is probably. And as that's happening, I missed the first blood bot. Looks like Bristleback obviously succumbing to that small pain of his where he feels way more tanky than he already is. And I mean, looking at the lives of both Kipo and this Mirana Senior Hydra, it's not like either of them got particularly low there. So just that ensnare arrow combo gonna be too much to handle for the Bristleback, it looks like.
And Bristleback, he never learned his trademark skill, Bristleback, making him even easier to kill. So, well, that was the first blood, and sadly we missed it. Yeah, so Venomancer, after realizing he's not gonna make anything happen, just gonna casually walk around and camp the rune for TA.
I mean, you
But
do have
look at the last hits.
Kipo's there just waiting,
That's-
trying to give a little bit more of rune control to TJ as well. And it looks like Tabo sees him coming, or at the very least, yes, indeed he does, and just picks up that region for himself, making sure that this Kipo doesn't get it. But yeah, what were you saying about last hits there, chum?
Look at SF. He's leading in terms of last hits. This is brilliant. Not very often you see a TA completely, SF completely outlasting a TA in terms of the laning phase, but he did get some nice runes, got regen, he got
Double damage.
double damage, yeah. So he got everything he needed to stay alive in this lane. And TA, the good thing about the new TAs, with the trap nerfs, you can't dive as quickly. You need to have the traps preset on the lane, and then it also allows room for rotations to come in, but he can go for the solo kill on the SF right now, or at least force out rotations from the support. If SF's not careful, Newham should just back out and then bait out. Okay, right, release the trap. Where's the release? This could have easily been a solo kill. Very curious. His creep wave was pushing in. That was a perfect timing.
Well,
and look at bottom. Kipo seems to be in a lot of trouble as well, but the arrow is going to... Oh, being blocked in by the Plague Ward. So Kipo, he doesn't have anywhere to go.
oh no, Fact
He just
Fiction
need one more.
needs one more. Doesn't have the mana for it, though, to actually get that Quill Spray down, and Poison Sting obviously not going to be enough. Factor Fiction now very low in himself, and Senior Hydra having just pretty much enough for a Sacred Arrow in a short amount of time, can always pop his magic wand and make something happen against Factor Fiction, but now trying to be really ballsy with it. One more hit. Will Bristleback save him? Does indeed. Actually gets away with 1 HP there. I was targeting him that whole time. 1 HP was the difference between life or death, and Factor Fiction actually gets out of there. So, playing ballsy, taking it really close to the chin, and paying off for him now, getting a little bit of tit for tat on the bottom lane, and with Venomancer here, making things a little bit easier on himself as well. Tabo actually opting to get Plague Wards up, rather than any more Poison Sting or Venomous Gale, and it looks like he's just trying to control as much with it as possible. Up top, it looks like, yeah, Shiny actually, nice little lucky stun from Shredder there. Now, can Shredder get him? It looks like the open wound's not quite enough, but now we have Kipo rotating top as well, and it looks like Shredder gonna fall here. Does have enough damage to maybe get a kill on Chris. Does indeed get it. Tabo now trying to make Kipo run for the hills. If there is any more TP support coming out, he just might be able to find him. Tabo just needs to throw down some Plague Wards, make sure that Kipo doesn't quite catch him, and now needs to be actually a little bit careful of an ensnare into this massive creep wave, but the Venomous Gale able to slow them enough to make sure that they do not catch up to him. But some nice play with Slardar there, and he's one of those heroes where no matter how much you want to actually take him out, if he happens to get an amplified damage on you, he can turn that fight really quickly and just do way more damage than you ever expect.
Yeah, just looking back at our earlier play, Mirana, that was very unlucky when he tried to kill the Bristleback. He thought the Bristleback was dead for sure, so his hero just turned around. But then it's like, oh no, he didn't die. And turns around again, tries to get it for the last hits.
Now Tabo, way too deep in enemy territory. Don't see him getting out of this one alive. Throws down whatever he possibly can before his death. 1 Poison Sting, 1 Plague Ward, and 1 Venomous Gale, but nobody there able to help him fast enough. And it looks like Shredder, he's working on that more likely than not armlet than anything else. But you do have Naga Siren and Chris rotating around the jungle, making sure that nobody is farming there. No Crystal Maiden at the very least, seeing as how Ja has basically not been appearing anywhere this entire game.
Oh man, this Slaughter, the Shredder, with that, Reaper of the Deep. That scythe or whatever
Halberd?
you call it. Yeah, Halberd. It just looks so painful. It just makes Slaughter look so much stronger. Well, it is a strong hero. But yeah, it just looks that much more painful. But SF surprisingly is still leading in terms of last hits over the TA.
Oh, well, I mean, now he's even got another double damage rune for him. He is just getting the best runes that you could basically ever want if you're a mid hero. He's getting double damages, he's getting regen runes left, right, and center. And, I mean, part of that is obviously the supports are aiding him in that. Kipo was there trying to protect that rune as best he could. But, I mean, still, he's been getting very lucky just in and of himself. And now it looks like Chris going very deep, trying to make something happen onto Ja. While that's happening, Shredder doing his very best to try and kill Shiny, but 1 Chain Frost being used, and Sprint, that is a lot of damage going on. Ja almost able to actually outrun this one, and it looks like Shredder able to stun Kipo in the last seconds there, runs into the trees, doesn't have a flask or anything, no salve. So it looks like Chris, he probably could have gone in there, made something happen, but not too sure if he was aware that Shredder is this low. While that's happening, it looks like TJ does TP out of this little gank in the mid, gets away scot-free, and of course, you don't really have a good way to deal with that with just these two heroes. Even those three heroes, you really do need Slardar or Crystal Maiden around to find, or get a kill without a TP there.
And this is what we're talking about. Look right here. There are a couple of stacks, and SF is going to be enjoying taking these stacks. Yeah, so he's doing a good job of staying alive in the mid lane against such an aggressive hero like Templar. He's making all the right calls, just being a little bit more passive. But I felt like Newham had a couple of chances where he could have killed TJ before TJ managed to get the TP scroll. A lot of wasted opportunities.
Well, oh well. Chris actually he doesn't even really care that he's got negative 10 armor, it looks like, or negative 7 armor total. Now we have Crystal Maiden just seeing if he can't make something happen against Chris, and this is actually a dual lane that could actually kill him right now. His Infest is down, pops the Rage, is going all over Jaw. It looks like Shredder can't quite find him, though. He will be able to get right to him. Almost does not the best of ever stuns. Finally does find him, doing a lot of damage, but he is right underneath the tower. In run Shiny, no Chain Frost available, and it looks like this gank has been turned onto its head. Chris still running as fast as he possibly can. Jaw hiding in the trees. He's actually going to be TPing out of here, and with no Chain Frost available, he is going to get out of here scot-free, so not too bad by any means there.
Ooh, so SF already took the stack, it seems. But it didn't give him as much as I thought it would. But 10 minute, still pretty good. 65 last hits. Yeah, but now BCP, they're going to start pressuring the mid tower, and this should be a tower trade of some sort. But it seems like BCP, they don't want to let anything go. They're going to pressure the tower and defend their own. So yeah, this is some very nice rotations from all of them. And if you look at bottom, oh, the arrow connects on Fact and Fiction. Is Meryl going to go for it? Nope.
I don't know if he can. Bristleback at level 2, a little bit too scary, and then it just can't deal with it. All these Serpent Wards, though, being very annoying in the mid lane coming out of this Venomancer, but like you said, now Factor Fiction, he's actually staying his welcome, maybe overstaying, it looks like. If Shiny can actually catch him out with a Chain Frost, with a Frost Blast, now that's going to be a dead Factor Fiction for pretty much nothing. Not too sure what he was thinking there, maybe thinking he might be able to hang out and go and get maybe a regen on the bottom rune, but just staying way too late. While that happened, TA actually falls to basically all the core heroes, or I should say Shadow Fiend and Chris there, and just dies for pretty much nothing, it looks like. They have a sentry down to guarantee that. No, wait, that is CBP's sentry, so I don't know.
Oh. This is a race car Lich, man. When he doesn't attack, he has like 400 plus movement speed. Oh, just watching him chase down the BB. Pretty funny. And it looks like Slaughter is going for armor instead of a Blink Dagger, so he won't be doing all the initiation for his team. But it does feel like it's going to be a very long and drawn out game because both teams, they're very good at defending towers. Nothing much to be said. And both, sure, Panthers have more kills, but with BB just farming up and, well, Slaughter, I just feel like Slaughter needs to make game impact. He should have gone Blink Dagger along TA. Those two heroes, if they blink together, right, the impact is just completely different. There'll be no place for a lot of heroes on Panther to farm. A lot of heroes would just get instantly killed. Minus 10 armor and then minus another 8 armor from TA. Minus 18 total. Even Chris would just pop, like on the Lifestealer.
Oh yeah, almost nothing to do. Right now, though, Factor Fiction seems really deep into enemy lines. He does have 2 points in Bristleback, and now he's trying to make as much work happen with that as possible. Just showing his back. Tabo actually misses the Gale ever so slightly. Shiny still looking for him. No Chain Frost, though. And now realizing Tabo doesn't have Bristleback. I can get out of here with that. But Factor Fiction able to TP out of there, so you are trading a Veno, but it seemed almost like an unnecessary death to me.
Yeah, and now I believe that's gonna be the.
Looks like Newham trying to get a solo kill on a TJ in the mid, doing at least some good pestering for his troubles, and throws down traps left, right, and center. Not doing too badly by any means. While that's happening, it looks like we have Chris going on to Jaw. This is one of those things where you can't really stop him from tunneling onto a support, and an Infest being used as well as that Naga Siren ult. If there's any TP support coming in, this could be a dead Shredder, but no, it doesn't look like anybody is coming to help. So Shredder just gonna go back to farming, do whatever he possibly can, and I mean, he has finished off that armlet. He is a force to be reckoned with in hand-to-hand, and I mean, I think that's pretty much why Kipo used that Song of the Siren, knowing that Chris, no way he could deal with him right now.
But I feel TA Newham has been playing way too passively. He needs to force out the rotations from Panthers. You know you can get away. He has enough money for Blink Dagger if that's his item of choice. But he could have been. See, look at Shiny. What's a Lich gonna do? Now you force out the rotation. That's the kind of plays that should be coming out from a Templar. He should be rotating it around, trying to get kills, trying to help out his teammates, lay down those traps, like lay down traps in places where the enemy will be rotating, like places like these. There are plenty of things that he could be doing. They can even go for the Roche. They've got so much minus armor. They've got Venomancer. They've got the Goo to even help slow the Roshan, and I feel they have a very legit draft, but it's just not being executed.
Oh, now Shredder trying to go right onto Kipo, but open wounds, slowing him down just enough to make sure Kipo doesn't get anything out of it. Now hides in the trees, and this is kind of, oh, and actually turns it around, eats a tree, tries to get right onto Kipo. Some TP support finally coming in. In runs Newham. Now Chris needs to be very careful. Doesn't have an Infest available. Newham not too sure where he's going, though, and with Chris's phase boots, he can actually get out of here, but with Jaw now, finally here. Big Chain Frost, though. Nothing to RNG against except these creeps now finally there. And not, ooh, finally goes back to Jaw, but no TPs quite in time. Now Kipo running for his life, gets an ensnare on Newham, and without any refraction available, actually is taking quite a bit of damage. Shredder realizing that, you know what, he is as fast as can be, has an armlet, he can be a tank if he wants to, gets right back into the fray, takes out that Lich. And with that, I mean, CBP, they're going to be getting this top tier 1, I want to say.
Oh, that was some beautiful plays from Shredder. Abusing the Quelling Blade and cutting through trees and making plays happen. Oh, I loved it. And then the armor toggle saving him from a couple of skills. Oh, yeah. I remember there was a video on Yafit's Slaughter a long time ago. Maybe in 2011 or 2012. But yeah, it's very reminiscent of Yafit's plays.
And now it looks like TJ in a horrible position, but of course, do they have the burst? Not quite. Maybe one more hit and it would have gone, but not this time around. We do have a couple of shots flying across the entire screen, Venom and a little bit, but of course, they do not land, as that's just how TPs work, everybody.
And brief, people are requesting for us to show some of the net worth. And so we gotta please the fans, right?
Sounds good. Let's show it up. I've already put it back on there. Clearly, it looks like Shadow Fiend actually doing quite nicely. Mirana as well. Little surprised that TA has not gotten a little bit more, however. Maybe with that Blink Dagger. Engagement on top, however, yes you do. Factor Fiction trying to make sure that he is always turned away, but with Shadow Fiend TJ coming in, Jaw now basically going to be food for Chris, guaranteed. So that's 2 deaths for almost nothing, it looks like. And now Shredder going in, trying to get stuns, trying to guarantee him, but the Song of the Siren always available. And now if TJ can get a big ult down, this might be game, or not game, but a few deaths. It looks like Newsham, though, doesn't really seem to care with refraction, can't quite meld out of here, and the sprinting Slard are able to get out of there. But I mean, this is just too much damage. There's too many heroes up here, and he's got to be back. There's no way he can defend this tier 1.
Oh yeah, and Miranas is happily farming, not even trying to join the fights. And now this should be a tier 1. Oh, there's actually going to be TP coming in. So Fiction, he has joined the fray, and he's starting to chase down the SF.
Now Inzrun Shredder can't quite land the stun, however, Factor Fiction trying his very best to slow everybody down, but Open Wound's doing quite a bit. Tabo getting a stun on Chris, but a nice little stun out of Shredder there. Oh, gets the bash and stops him from teleporting, so they do find the lifestealer pretty much based on entirely on RNG. Shadow Fiend, of course, has already TP'd out of this one, and now it looks like they've turned this little push that they had going back on its head. Going to be taking the tier 1 of the Panthers in a timely little fashion there. Song of the Siren, of course, is down. Can't do too much. Always do have Chain Frost available. Odd, I feel, that it's not quite level 2, but not the end of the world. Shredder, though, with this sprint, eating a huge amount of damage, and there's the Chain Frost, but using that armlet toggle magnificently, trying to get out of here as best he can. Looks like he needs to armlet toggle once again. Almost falls to those tower hits. Bristleback does fall, however, and with that, they are going to get the tower deny, so not too bad coming out of the Panthers, playing really nicely, actually.
Wow. The armor toggle is such a bait. The new armor toggle, you gotta have to burst him down. Otherwise, it's just like it's kind of like an alchemist regen. It's absolutely insane through the roof. But now finally we're seeing the go for the Roche. This is something that I've been expecting to see since like around the 10-minute mark. But very much delayed by the amount of action we've had around the game. 19 minutes in, we have, and is it 21? 21 kills.
You can use that math. Come on.
Dude, 14 plus 7, that's 21.
Yeah,
right?
it's 21. Yeah. No, you got it right.
Don't make me doubt myself. Yeah, and with that Aegis being picked up, things should be looking a little bit better for them. Oh, but the gold graph and XP graph on the other hand, I'm actually pretty surprised. Like, sure, Panthers, they have twice the amount of kills, and the items are looking great. TJ has BKB, Mirana has almost Manta, even the support Lich has Mech.
Ooh, Shredder gonna find a Senior Hydra, runs right into that, gets bashed. What can he do? Gonna get a leap away with the mechanism from the Lich, but at the very least, Shredder gonna be scaring the daylight out of that Mirana there. And now still sprinting around, seeing what he can do. It looks like we have traps and wards going every which way. And I mean, Slardar, he can be pretty much as ballsy as he wants to. He's got this Aegis, and as soon as he pops out of that, he just needs to sprint away and should be getting away from most things pretty well.
Oh, and Templar almost has his Deso as well. Just need about 200 more gold, 150 gold. Oh, just, I mean, once you have, let's do a little bit of math. Let's not count the goo, because that's a little too hard to calculate if you want to factor that in as well. But just Slaughter alone, right now with level 2 amplified damage, that's minus 15 armor. And then TA with Mel does another 8. And you have another minus 7 armor from
minus
Desolator.
30.
So what is that?
Minus 30.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Right? That
Even
is...
a Dragonite can't handle that kind of minus armor.
No, exactly. That is just too much, and that's basically the reason that I feel it's kind of odd that they waited this long to take a Roche. They could have taken it as soon as Slardar hit 6, and now Senior Hydra in a bit of trouble. Lots of TPs coming in, and a beautiful leap to get away, but Slardar, he's picked up a Blink Dagger, tries to finish him off, and does indeed get it, and now he might pay for it. At the very least, he will pay with the Aegis, and then they realize they really do need to hit him at least once to make sure he can't blink away from this, and now he is just hiding the tree. Seeing if he can't get blink. He had it for 1 split second, couldn't quite use it. While that's all happening, you have Tabo and the rest of his teammates coming in to try and help him out. Jaws here might actually fall to Kipo, but has a full Crystal Maiden ult going, and with that, looks like CBP finding some nice kills there. Just looks like Panthers had no idea that the rest of Bag of Chips was waiting for them.
Oh, so Panthers, knowing that they can't hold on to the push, Chris and Shiny have been trying to get a little momentum of their own at mid. But with the TP of Newham, they're just gonna have to back out. Oh, but this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like BCP, the lineup needs time to develop, and throughout time and from some great plays from individual players, as well as like the overall decision
Now they
of
see
team
Chris
making.
here. He doesn't actually have a TP available, so he's going to try and race car his way away. Going to be a little difficult against a blinking, sprinting Slardar. And now, but they do have, obviously, that Moonlight Shadow. Not too sure if there's any detection available for any of these heroes. And it looks like, ooh, they know that he's still here, throwing down those slows on him. But of course, it doesn't really matter. That detection is coming in the form of amplified damage. Almost forgot that gives true sight. Whew.
Oh, brave. No, I shouldn't say shame on you, but low.
I know, a little bit of a mishap with my brain. It is still pretty early here for a Sunday
fact
for me.
fiction.
Fact or fiction. Yes,
He's
he is
being caught
indeed.
out.
Ooh, and actually getting some
blocked in.
body
Ooh.
blocked a little bit nicely there, but now with Bristleback at level 4 and not able to quite ensnare him and get in front, he's going to be doing fine, just fine right there. Tabo, though, ensnared. Arrow already used, however. There is a Starfall available, and does just TP out of there, knowing that there is no follow-up, no other stun coming, and it looks like he's going to be doing fine. Just barely getting out of there, though. Some nice reaction out of Tabo, however. So many times as a Veno, you just go, you know what? I'm just going to throw all my spells and die because I am stuck right here. But, you know, has the peace of mind to say TP and say, you know what? That arrow already whiffed. There's no way you can stun me again. I might get out of this one out of here for free.
Wow, I mean, there's a lot of interesting in this game, man. Like, I feel like the story of the game so far, it's been you engage, and then the opponent just TPs out of it. So something that start to see like something we didn't really discuss during the draft is a lack of lockdowns from both teams. Stable
Well,
lockdowns. You
well, I
know,
mean,
you've
yeah,
got
yeah.
Naga Net
That's true. Now
and Rana
Shredder,
Arrow on one
oh,
end.
looks like a pincer move going down, but blinks out immediately. Fast fingers by this fish right there. And as soon as Crystal Maiden sees him blink out and the horde of heroes coming at her, she just TPs out, heads for the hills. But Shredder, some fast damn fingers there, and gets out of there with the sprint as well. I mean, he is well away from these heroes, but with 5 heroes up here, they're just going to be pushing in pretty heavily onto this tier 2. It looks like Veno needs to come back here, start putting down a wall of wards, make sure that Poison Nova is as big a deterrent as it should be. But Newsham has shown up, and I mean, TA alone with Shredder waiting in the wings to blink, that is scary itself.
Yeah, so they have to retreat, and look at the golden XP graph, right? It's going right back down to 0. Very close. I mean, the XP graph literally is at like, I don't know, what is that? 100 or 200? So that's, let's just call it 0.
Yeah, let's just call that
gold
0.
graph, it is declining as well. So oh my god, BCP, CDP, they're definitely clawing their way back into the game. They made big plays, and those big plays have paid off, and now, suddenly, they feel very confident. And with the next Roshan spawning up in about 2 minutes or so, that's just going to be a free Rosh for them.
Oh yeah,
Unless
I mean,
Panther, they can execute perfectly.
I was gonna say, if we look at the net worth now, when it used to be the 3 cores of Panther all leading the charge and doing nicely, now it is looking a little bit more dispersed. Things are turning up for Bag of Chips right now, not doing too badly. You know, TA is matching the Mirana, Slardar ever so slightly behind the Shadow Fiend, and then Bristleback actually very close to the Lifestealer, so they've really equalized at least their core heroes. While that's happening, you have Chris. Looks like he tried to do something against Factor Fiction, but of course, you're never going to kill a Bristleback just as a solo Lifestealer. He's always going to have his back to you, and there's no way you'll be able to actually pile on the damage enough to finish him off.
That was quick reaction as well, though. Like, it's like, oh shit, Tia is coming around my back. Instant TP. There's nothing Factor Fiction can do. And next thing you know is like Factor Fiction says, man, I'm gonna show you some like next level stuff, and whips out Abyssal.
TJ, though, looks like he is actually almost going to find Tabo. He's actually a little bit scared of Tabo, it looks like.
TP.
He doesn't even really know where Shredder is, and that's what's scaring him the most. And Tabo just flexes that snake body of his and gets him to run away.
Okay, so Roche will be out in about 40 seconds. And, well, it's actually Tabo's job to keep tabs or just laying down a TA trap. Very surprised, the TA traps they are not being like fully utilized, but we do have the trap that I was talking about, like somewhere over here. But he could be placing a lot more. He is already level 16, that means a potential of up to 11 traps. And one of them should always be kept at Roche. They need to keep tabs on the Roche, because it's something they can definitely capitalize on.
There you go.
Especially when the game is hanging balanced like this. There we go.
As you say it happens. So many times that has actually happened where you say, you know what, I don't get quite why they're not doing it. They're not doing this one thing, and then boom, it happens immediately, and it makes you eat your own words. But sadly, this Roche gonna be almost at a max respawn time, so gonna take about another 2.5 minutes to actually get there. So looks like Bag of Chips and Pep going to be having a little bit of a rough time. A smoke did go down for the Panthers, however, trying to find anybody in the jungle, but Bag of Chips, Pep, obviously when you don't see a single hero on the map, on the Panthers lineup, and you have Veno placing wards and traps everywhere, you need to know that a smoke gank is happening, and it's been very obvious to them, clearly.
Yeah, and this is some great discipline from Bag of Chips. Oh, I always feel like somebody on my team somewhere, like, when you have these kind of heroes like that just disappear, and you'd be like, yeah, don't worry about me, man, I'll farm, they're not gonna catch me, and then boom, next thing you know, there's like 5 heroes surrounding him, and he gets pounded, and it's like, dude, it's a mistake. You're like, come on, man, we told you, there's this smoke gank. So I'm always very pleased to see teams that are really disciplined, make good use, yeah.
No, I agree, and I mean, that just comes down to that. I think that there's that fallacy where whenever you do hear a rule, immediately a rule or a suggestion or something along those lines, you think, oh, well, that's for other people. I'm different. And like, I'm the exception.
yeah.
I don't need to like be scared of a smoke gank because I'm gonna farm and I can get away. And then obviously that sort of thing bites you in the ass every single time.
Yeah, interesting enough, looking at the items of Panthers heroes, they're not anywhere near as farmed up as they need to be. I mean, you look at flash roamers like SF, he's about, well, not too far, just a recipe away from his Enta, but essentially on a hero like SF, right, 30 minutes in, you expect to see 3 big items, so that would be like BKB, Manta, and something else. But he's not getting as much as needed. Whereas Chris, the main carry, he's been struggling a lot. Sure, he's got more kills than death, but only 100 last hits in 28 minutes, been constantly fighting. I feel a Midas might have benefited him a little bit more if they are in this kind of scenario where you have to go and play late game. But they do have a last resort, which is Kipo. Kipo, right now, he has 3 kills, 1 death, and 5 assists, and he's not too far from a Heaven's Halberd. That's going to be pretty useful for his team, and if anyone on CBP gets a BKB, he can just instantly, as soon as that BKB is popped, instant sleep, they can take out that one hero and then re-engage directly afterwards. So something to watch out is when the BKBs do come out from CBP. Slaughter was heading towards, I don't know, might be a Halberd, might have been SNY, but most likely a BKB has decided not to. He's tanky enough, so he's gonna start heading towards, oh dear, Assault Curious, and that's even more at minus armor. So how much minus armor do you want in a team? Let's just see. Do you actually know the chart for minus armor, like how far you get to the point where the effect of minus armor just completely diminishes?
I believe it's about minus 25 armor. It kind of becomes moot.
Okay, I'm gonna be looking out for that. Like whoever gets engaged on, he's probably gonna end up with minus, I don't know, ridiculous amount. So Slaughter, that's minus 20.
Minus 20.
EA, we have
15.
Minus 15. And then let's assume Nasal Goo. How many we're gonna say? 3 stacks?
Well, not only that, let's just factor in the assault once he finally gets it. So it's going to be 20 and 20. So it's going to be minus 40 armor.
Alright, it's not that bad. They do have the Lich, so it gives plus what? Plus 9 armor.
Ah,
so
9.
No, it's 9. It's 9. Yeah, and then let's see, heroes like SF already has about 19 armor, so after all the minus armor, they'll be down to practically about 0, between minus 10 to 0, so it's gonna hurt a lot.
Yeah, so it's still gonna be incredibly damaging.
Yeah, and if Venomancer gets a Veil of Discord, that's pretty damaging as well. That means Crystal Maiden and Venomancer's magical damage output would be pretty scary if, I mean, because they're the ones who stand in the back. If you look at all of CBP's heroes, right, they're the kind who dives in, tanks it up the cores, and the supports are the ones who gets to stand in the back and deal out the damage they need most of the time if the fights go correctly, which means Venomancer will have an easy time getting off the Poison Nova, and then Crystal Maiden can get the Freezing Field off, and it looks like they're trying to chase down the Lifestealer. No, but they decide to turn away from it.
Just poking him, making sure that he stays away. I mean, I think it's mostly because they're just not 100% sure where everybody is. They do have this, this ward I quite like. Obviously, shows you if anybody's trying to gank, shows you who's hiding behind the trees right around here. Will clearly show you that this Moonlight Shadow was just used. So Newham might be playing a little bit of a bait game, but of course they do see him. Now we have a Naga Siren song being used, and Templar Assassin in a little bit of trouble, it would appear. Arrow does fly, and it of course canceled right as soon as it lands on her. Eats a refraction charge, but that's not really why you care. It's all about that stun. And now with that pickoff, I mean, Panthers going to be pushing down the mid lane pretty heavily. Or no, not at all. Trying to take this Roche, but it is not quite back yet. You still got about 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so. It's going to give TA not quite enough time to actually make it over here, so not too bad. But CBP, they should be able, I want to say, to deal with this push right now. Moonlight Shadow is off. You do have Chain Frost available, but you don't have any Song of the Siren. And if Shredder and Bristleback get in there and really start tanking things up, I think that they could pull this out.
Well, if a fight erupts right now, right, and Panthers are forced to back off, that's going to be a free Roche for BCP. So they have to be very careful with the execution right here. They no longer have the Naga song for this fight, and they will have to back out. and just wait for the Roche. But there will be a haste room, which isn't too bad for the SF. And the Manta should be flying out. See, this is some brilliant item choices coming out of Panthers. Getting Manta on the core. If I was Lifestealer, I would even consider a Manta. Just being able to like Manta out of the amplified damage. Oh, that's great, man. Suddenly from minus 20 armor to just like completely neutralizing that minus negative armor effect. Look at how fast Roche is dying. Can we even count to 5? 1, 2, 3. Okay, nope.
Yeah, and there's nothing that
was
even,
never gonna happen.
Yeah, Panthers can do because they know that the Song of the Siren was already used. There's nothing that they can even do to stop that. Maybe an SF or something along those lines could try and get a big ult, but I mean, overall, you just couldn't do a single thing there to that Roche fight, and that's kind of the feeling that it is when Bag of Chips and Pepperoni, when they know that the Song of the Siren is down, they feel incredibly safe wherever they're going, and I mean, rightly so.
Yep. Now this game, both teams are just starting to like head back a little bit because Panthers, they know this isn't a good time to take a fight. When the Roche is up on the BCP, especially on a hero like Slaughter who just charges in head first, they gotta play passive. They gotta get more farm on the heroes. Chris, he pretty much has an AC as well. Well, at least not too far from it. He has a plate now. And they just need a bit more time. The cores all have Manta now. Mirana as well as SF. Now, the next thing they need is to just get the damage items and to just work their way through the tier refraction. So, Manta style, it breaks refraction really fast as well, so that they both went for the perfect item choice.
Oh yeah, no, I have to agree with you. And I mean, it just feels like right now Panthers, they have some nice items, but with the Aegis down, or I should say on Shredder right now, he's just farming up, trying to make sure that he has Assault before they ever try and go in. But I mean, CBP, BCP, whichever one you want to call it, their ability to push in, or at the very least do damage to towers, is just ridiculous, obviously. You have that minus armor, but this haste rune now on the Shadow Fiend, you can't slow that, Tabo, and there's nothing that he can do. Maybe trying to save himself with a Plague Ward, and these illusions actually not able to kill that very quickly at all, but, I mean, just feeding that Shadow Fiend a little bit more. Might be seeing another one of those big items coming out a little bit later than you would have said. It looks now like Senior Hydra throwing out that arrow, trying to see if anybody was around, and did see Ja wasn't a big enough bait for him, however, and Shredder knows it. Can't quite find that Mirana.
And this is great, because right when TA is about to get that butterfly, Mirana is going to have his MKB. So it completely negates the usefulness of the butterfly. Well, not 100%. You still get the benefit of the attack speed and whatnot. And I mean, only Mirana will have the true strike. So, but both guys, they're getting the items that they wanted, and good reaction from Mirana.
Oh yeah, and I mean, really just completely necessary. Lifestealer is very far away from ever getting an MKB right now at all, and yeah, you really do want a good way to deal with TA. Now you have a smoke going down, and pretty well hidden actually as well, so I mean, Factor Fiction, I mean, this feels like a pretty clear bait to me when you don't see a single other person in sight, and especially when Factor Fiction is willing to go over this river. However, though, you do have Shredder just steamrolling into the jungle, instead decides to yes indeedy, hang around Factor Fiction right now and wait in the wings. This smoke, though, still just hanging around. Seems they can't find anybody. These illusions going to be a little bit annoying. They do find it, and Nusham now pops the smoke, maybe unnecessarily. But, of course, now they must know that everybody else is just waiting there. Shredder, though, blinks in right onto Shiny. Can't quite finish him off. The Force Staff too much. And now the Aegis has been popped. Not the best Chain Frost in the world by any means. Tabo, though, very low. While this is all happening, you have Shadow Fiend and Naga Siren pushing on the bot lane. So you want to get, at the very least, a Tier 2 for a Tier 2. You already lost the Aegis here. But with only 3 heroes in the mid, it feels like these heroes could definitely make something happen. Tabo so obscenely close to getting hit by that arrow. Now we have the TPs coming in. Shredder, though, right in on it. But the Naga Siren ult being used to guarantee that TJ can get in position. Tabo, don't believe he's going to live through this one at all. Shredder trying his very best, but BKB not enough. Can't go through what TJ is throwing out with 116 damage. Not to mention Mirana is just beating like a tank as well. And it looks like through all of that, the Crystal Maiden actually surviving. Not expecting that by any means. I just expected to be dead pretty much every fight. But a full team wipe, they don't get the tier 2 as well. And the tier 2 on the bot falling, so Panthers playing this just magnificently.
Well, it's kind of funny because the Crystal Maiden, right, with the freezing field, like because you know how he was in the trees, right, completely blocked off the Bristleback from retreating. He was stuck in between, and as soon as the freezing field killed the SF, the BB just died with the SF because of that. The new half of the Requiem was Soul explosion.
Oh yeah, I just can't do anything. And I mean, New Sham now, he's hanging out and he's doing whatever he can, but he's starting to fall prey a little bit, Templar Assassin, to not having that Blink Dagger like you said. These Mantas doing a tremendous amount of damage to this tower. That's exactly what you want to see happen. Couldn't quite polish it off. It looks like it is ever so slightly in deny range, but usually you do not want to deny those towers of yours.
Yeah, once again, Panther played and executed wonderfully. They took a tier 2 and then they started to sleep. But it might have been a little bit too hasty from the slaughter, just seeing that opportunity to jump and then just went for it. And that ended up costing them quite a bit.
Oh yeah, and I mean, now if you look at the net worth, we see that Mirana and Shadow Fiend, they're leading the charts once again. It feels a little bit more like it did in the beginning of the match, and all of the really nice mid-game play that Bag of Chips and Pepperoni were pulling out there seems to have all gone to waste. And I mean, if we look at the gold graph, nothing is really more telling than that. You have that nice peak forming for the Panthers, goes down to a valley, and actually gets to about 1,000 gold difference, so CBP really bringing it back, and now it's back up to 10,000 gold advantage. I mean, they are just starting to steamroll a little bit too much, and almost about 12,000 difference in experience, so now CBP, yeah, they get the Aegises, they're getting those Roches, but they just don't seem to be able to make too much happen after that. I mean, they got some nice fights as well, but now it's just like Panthers, they have too much going on for them. Chris has finished off his assault. TJ has gotten scarier. He's getting fairly close to that butterfly of his own, and with no MKB in sight for CBP, he's going to be almost, I don't want to say untouchable, but incredibly tanky for an SF.
Oh, yeah. TA, I feel like his item progression has been, could have been a little bit better. Perhaps a BKB or a Manta Star on top would have helped him a bit more. He just went for straight deeps, but at the same time, he's expecting BB and Slaughter to be able to tank everything. But it seems like every time, Panthers just go straight for the TA, knowing that he dishes out just so much damage. And as soon as you remove the TA from the equation, suddenly it just feels like CBP doesn't have that oomph to take out some of the Panthers' cores.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the focus fire coming out of the Panthers is just lovely as well. And I mean, Senior Hydra getting that Monkey King bar clearly and utterly just for the TA, making sure that she doesn't get away having that evasion. And TJ, I mean, he is so obscenely close to finishing off this butterfly that as soon as he does, it's just going to be terrifying to be up against. Not to mention, Kipo, he's got that halberd, works really nicely against the TA, obviously, because it is slightly longer of a duration. And TA with no Manta or anything along those lines, no BKB, can't get out of the fact that she can't attack. So, I mean, Heaven's Halberd, along with... excuse me, Heaven's Halberd, along with Monkey King Bar, there's just almost nothing it feels like TA can do right now.
Oh, Illusion Army coming in to take the tower.
Oh my word, yeah.
Wow, these illusions. Wow, they managed to chip out.
Tabo, though, eats an arrow and falls immediately.
Well, so a couple of things is going to happen next. I'm just going to make predictions, so don't blame me if I'm wrong, but they're waiting for the Roche. The next Roche is going to be really big. It's something that both teams absolutely have to contest, unless they just simply don't have a choice. But as of now, since the game is progressing the way it is, both teams need to fight for it. It's just, and I have a feeling it might be a game decider. It just feels like if Panthers, they go to the Roche fight and then they win, that's going to be guaranteed like at least one set of racks, or even two, and same with BCP. But it might be a little harder for BCP because after they take the Roche, there's still a tier 2 that they need to take, and then they can start pressuring the tier 3. But nonetheless, it is going to be very, very, very important to have that Aegis plus cheese for either side, seeing that they can both win the team fight. with a little bit of additional like HP boost, as well as having a second life on a core hero like Templar Assassin, who's going for glass cannon build.
And now TJ actually strangely far forward. Always does have, ooh, getting stunned up. Where is that Song of the Siren to save him? And of course, no BKBs being used. TJ so incredibly low. If there had been one BKB out of Slardar right there, that would have been a guaranteed pickoff and probably a guaranteed Roche as well, considering that he is back and that they know it. But at the very least, he does need to go all the way home to heal up, and for how quickly CBP can kill this Roche, I mean, it's pretty much a guaranteed Roche anyways.
Oh, Panthers are just not ready for this. They need to be around the Roche pit, because there's no chance. It's just gonna fall within 10 seconds. And now with the Aegis plus Cheese, hopefully, whoa, it's actually interesting. They gave the Cheese to the TA instead. I always thought that they're gonna give the Aegis to him, or even just completely sack him and give the Aegis and Cheese to say the Bristleback as well as the Slaughter, and just have the TA position himself really far in the back and only go for engagements when, say, the Cheese has been used, or like when things are looking in their favor.
And now putting down a ward, obviously not wanting to get Moonlight shadowed this late into the game. Sentry ward on the ground. You can obviously pick that up. And it actually looks like Crystal Maiden, he's going to be working towards a BKB of his own. And is there a basher down for anybody? It doesn't look like Chris quite has a basher just yet. MKB can obviously put quite a damper on a freezing field, but with a BKB, Crystal Maiden going nuts in a team fight, I mean, that might be enough. There is a BKB, however, on TJ, so he's going to be doing none too badly. But Mirana is still fairly squishy, especially against magic damage. When you look at her, she's got 1,500 HP, but that's about it. Now Factor Fiction getting caught out from that smoke gank, and that is a lot of quill sprays, but obviously nobody really cares this late in the game of that.
That shouldn't have happened, because when they planted this sentry ward, right, there was a dire sentry ward right there. And Lich even broke out of sentry. They were in 5-man smoke, and that smoke was being... Well, you don't get the vision, but you see that sentry being attacked, and you should know that there's potential, like, that the enemy team is coming for you. Because they were all at mid.
Oh yeah, but I mean now we have Bristleback. He does buy back, so there's that at the very least. And I think Senior Hydra just going to be trying to find some big arrows and trying to engage in that way. They don't really have too much. Obviously, a Song of the Siren always available, and you combo that with a TJ ult. Things could be very scary, but now being forced to back off, Nusham, he's got a haste rune, and a hasted TA is pretty terrifying to deal with.
A hasted TA with Butterfly and Deso and Cheese.
And now it looks like Shredder needs to be incredibly careful. Do not run into that arrow, my friend, and indeed he won't. So they have this ward up here. They've got the vision that they need to make sure that he doesn't just hang around and be a huge nuisance to them. They do see him, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Big Song of the Siren coming up. It looks like Nusham. Is he going to be able to cheese fast enough? It looks like he might. Shredder, though, right in there. BKBs immediately pops his armlet as well. Factor Fiction now. This Chain Frost going to work and pretty much just destroy Tabo. However, they are going right for this Rax. Looks like Chris finally deciding to stay back in here. Getting stunned. Not too sure by what there. It doesn't matter. The Aegis does finally pop. And now Shredder right onto Chris. He doesn't have an infest, but he is just eating through him right now. Not Shredder. Absolutely cannot take those deeps. Not too sure why. Usually... he can, but I mean, no bash coming out of him. Immediately buys back, sprints, runs in, seeing if he can't get anybody. Venomancer finally does kill the Lifestealer. They know that Shiny is around here somewhere. And right off the bat, I mean, you have Lifestealer dead, you have Shadow Fiend dead. Do they have buybacks? They must. Shadow Fiend does, Lifestealer does, so this is not going to be a Rax by any means. But, I mean, they do defend. They still have their Rax, so not too bad by any means. CBP, though, a lot of buybacks being used by them, it looks like. You have TA who bought back, Slardar, as well as Bristleback. Pretty much your 3 cores all having to buy back. That's going to put a damper in their item progression for sure.
They need to push and force out the buybacks from Panthers as well to keep the games hanging in balance. Otherwise, if Panthers respawn with the amount of money they have, 2200 on SF and 4.4k on the Lifestealer, they're just going to keep up with their item progression. So yeah, this is a time where it's very, very crucial to force out those buybacks to take away some of the additional gold that Panthers have.
But it looks like some hesitation coming on them, right? They're not right on top of it. On to Kipo, however, and it looks like he is in a heap of trouble. Does have Heaven's Halberd, but that evasion not quite enough. And now they really do want to force out these buybacks. At the very least, they got the Naga Siren buyback, but I mean, that is not what you want. You want that Lifestealer with 4.5k. You want that Shadow Fiend with 2.2 thousand under his belt as well. But I mean, alas, not streamlining down that mid fast enough to actually make sure that they have to buy back.
Oh man, that was very unfortunate. They just couldn't put up enough pressure. Yeah, they need a lot more items on the BB. If they can get the BB to be the ultimate tank where he just stands in the middle of everything and just suck it up and then just like be like, yeah, please hit me. Perhaps a mid-game play mail would have made quite an impact. I mean, we're all looking at things in retrospect, but it's hard to say, you know. So I'm really looking forward to actually eventually playing the takeover mode, but yay, we'll grab a DD rune. And this is one of those moments where in the late game, DD runes can make or break a game. If he does fully utilize his DD rune well, he might just be able to burst down one of the core heroes on Panthers. But I am starting to have doubts just about like how much they'll be able to do with this like death push coming in. They had Cheese and Aegis in the previous one, and they barely held out. And this time, without those items, I just don't know.
I know, what
this
can they do?
This is gone for sure.
Veno throws down his ult, Shredder right in the mix of things, but everybody just getting away from him. He's actually only landed one hit, got a stun on Few, and now, as soon as he dies, and knowing that that buyback is down for him, he can't do a single thing, trying to make sure that TJ gets as best he can. Arrow flies, lands on Factor Fiction's face. So bad for him. Bristleback not going to be doing too much, and with that, Jaw is going to fall, and the buybacks are not going to be coming for this Dire team, and there's the GG. And with that, everybody, Panthers are going to the finals. So against the Mongols, and that should be coming up none too long from now. At exactly when is it? I have it written down. 20 CET, 14 EST. Not 100% sure what time it is. Don't have a clock immediately near me, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Panthers doing a little bit of a shout out there. I've been Briefcase along with Mito, bringing you this ESPL weekly series, and Mito, sign us off, baby.
Yeah, man, so be ready for Man vs. Beast in our finals of ESPL weekly series number 4.
Boom. Beautiful. Lovely.
Oh, that was a fun game. Loved it.